Good evening, folks. I just thought I'd do a quick stream because I keep coming across examples of Donald Trump doing things I very much approve of and actually getting the job done in many cases and at least trying where he has yet to succeed. And so I just wanted to kind of showcase something because I've seen a lot of negativity around Trump from various sort of political pundits on the internet and obviously in every paper that exists in all of the land. So I'm kind of sick of it, and I just wanted to go through a few things that I like. The first one being, I suppose, what I have on the screen here. Oh yeah, as well. But another reason I wanted to do this as a stream and not a video, because I've got quite a lot to go through, so I figure I may as well do it in a stream so I don't have to worry about editing it. But also, I've been working on a response to 3 Arrows, who's a guy called Dan from Germany, who's made a video as a response to me, but not really, and I found it really interesting. And it's really interesting how he addresses the comparisons of the validity of Nazi comparisons, which I find fascinating because I've been reading about like Nazis and fascism and all this sort of stuff for so long now that I've come to the conclusion that I think that the Nazis were just an expression of the German psyche and not the expression of someone else's. And so I'm just like, look, it's so weird that he would think that, oh, I a German, I'm going to warn an Englishman, don't become a Nazi. So yeah, don't worry, there was no chance of it. We've figured that part out. Like, we're for the limitation of government. We're not going to become Nazis. That's something that we worry the Germans will do, and you worry about yourself. But anyway. It's a really funny video. No, unintentionally funny in places, like where he uses the SDP to justify worrying about concentration camps at the border. And yes, we can call them concentration camps, he says. Well, you know that they've got a direct implication that they mean Nazi death camps. So no, not really. It's pretty illegitimate to call them concentration camps. It is more accurate to call them detention centers because they are something different to the Nazi concentration camps in both form and function. So let's be honest here. But anyway, getting back to Trump, because okay, fuck it. I'll talk about this for a while. This has been on my mind. All right, it's been on my mind because I've been deep into all of this. There's deep lore regarding the Germans. No, there is, unironically. And it, like, if you watch Rammstein's Deutschland video, this is the question that they're struggling with, is like, can we love being Germans? And because the identity of being German is such a contiguous thing through history, it means that they're effectively struggling with this, and that's what Rammstein are talking about in the song. The lyrics are literally like, I love you and I damn you, and I'll get the lyrics up. No, I'm not going to get the lyrics up. I'll do it in the video that I'm making because I'm writing a big script for it. It's going to be a big one because it's like there's so much there that has to be unraveled. But yeah, so I'm becoming a bit of a fan of Rammstein. I'm really enjoying it, and it's all stuff that I've been really deep into. But the thing is, it's really depressing. Like, the Germans are a genuinely dramatic people. And so, like, understanding them and getting to their mindset, it's like, okay, man, like, we don't have to do everything all the time, and you're not responsible for most of the things you feel guilty about. Like, it's not all you. Honestly, it's quite terrifying. And so, genuinely, and I mean that. And so it's quite nice to see, like, the Anglosphere looking all positive and shiny for once. And this is why I wanted to do this, because genuinely I was feeling quite just, isn't it nice that we can feel kind of positive about things for once? They're not great, but they're definitely getting a lot better. But Trump is the most campaign promise following president in history. As far as I can remember, no other president's even been close. Well, yeah, what isn't he doing that he said he would try and do? Trump's problem is really resistance. There's a lot of it, an unreasonable amount of it, in fact. The most one in regards to the wall, for me, that is the campaign promise that is the most baffling to oppose from the Democrat point of view, because they want Big government. They want big spending. They've got huge ideas for spending. Let us tell you about the Green New Deal and how many trillions of dollars this is going to cost. But Trump wanting like 25 billion for the wall or whatever, it's, you know, the upper estimates of it. No, fucking no. No way. 25 billion is way too much. And it's like, bitch, fucking please. You are all about government spending. You and 26 billion to you is not that much. So let's actually talk about the benefits of having a wall and just the fact that you can use that as a point of compromise. You can say, we want Medicaid for all or whatever it is in exchange for. And Trump will probably go for it. He's probably not against the idea of that, really. He's probably just following the Republican line because you're giving him no reason not to, or at least not to find a compromise on his part as well. And so it's just one of those things where it's like, you're just doing this to be obstructionist. Thank you, Bitan. And Scott Adams predicted AOC would distance herself from the squad. We need to continue targeting the emotional angle and speak in terms the left can understand if we hope to reach them, since facts don't matter persuasion. That's a great point, Marisha Dark. I totally agree. This is actually why I'm doing the 3 arrows response. Because it's, I mean, obviously it's factual, but like, it's addressing the sort of spiritual problem. And that's the sort of, I think there has definitely been a sense of spiritual malaise that has come across the West. And I don't mean in a sort of godly manner. I mean in a sort of just a positive self-outlook, you know, a positive way of looking and representing oneself as a positive force in the world. And I think this is because the left has essentially been like a negging girlfriend, saying, actually, you're shit at everything you do. You never do anything good. It's like, well, hang on, fuck off. You know, everyone wants to come here because we're amazing and we did everything the best. You can just shut the fuck up with that fucking nonsense. I'm sick of it. And we're going to make things better. And I love when Boris Johnson was he was pointing, I'm going to do a big video on Boris Johnson as well, by the way. But I'm still waiting for the sort of like dominoes to keep falling at the moment. Stuff's still happening. And the left is still spurging out. It's going to be a great video. The Meltdown Part 2, I'll probably call it. And so I'm doing this other one in the meantime because it's a self-contained thing. But yeah, he was pointing at Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour bench across and saying, you know, this country is going to further outdistance others, which is something that, you know, the opposition don't want. And that's exactly true, because that goes counter to their ideals of equality. It's awful that we're like improving our civilization beyond other civilizations around us, like the French. That's awful to them because that's not equality, is it? You know, oh God, that's not equal. No, we're just better than them. Get over it. It's not because, and it's not racial. It's because they're French. Honestly, I love the fact that it boils down to language in Europe as well. Like, and there's a lot to it, and I'm going to go into it in this video because there's like the postmodernists are right. The way we speak about things and the way we conceive of things, just using the language itself and the implication of the words we use, really does shape reality. They are totally right about that. I support your idea of staying in the UK to fight the good fight, but have you considered dual citizenship to the US in case things go south? I haven't, actually. I probably should. Orange Man Bad, yes. Trump is... Oh, yeah, I read that one, sorry. Brzezinski, nice profile picture, Brzezinski. I got the notification now, I hope it's not too late. No, I've just started. I'm just rambling. Sargon's like a low IQ Sean Hannity. Well, thank you so much. I don't actually watch Hannity. What's he like? Hey, Mr. Sargon mods in chat, says Carl's opinion. Oh, hello. Holy Crusade on California when? Never. It's, honestly, the whole place might blow up in a giant earthquake. I'm terrified of going back there. But yeah, nothing's more costly than this free. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about how Trump is succeeding, because he is actually doing good here. US economy under Trump. Is it the greatest in history? Say BBC's reality check team. This was from a month ago, but that's recent enough. So the claim from Trump was that the US economy is perhaps the greatest ever been. Reality check. Yes, the economy is doing well, but there have been periods where it's even stronger. All right. Okay, go on. Tell us how it's doing well. So for the first quarter of 2019, he had 3.1% growth, which he said he'd have over 3% growth per quarter, which, you know, okay, fine. It's lower than his 4.2%, but that's not surprising. I'll get into it later. But Obama had one particular year of 5.1%, so checkmate. Don't worry about those negatives, and we won't calculate the averages. And of course, in the 1950s and 1960s, growth was even higher. But yeah, America was the last major country standing after World War II, so one might expect such a thing. But anyway, the stock market is actually at record highs under Trump, which I guess the BBC enjoyed writing. Jobs and wages going well. US unemployment rate is actually the lowest in the US since 1969, which is pretty good. 3.6%. Not necessarily all Trump's doing, of course, but you know, he's done nothing to hinder its descent. And the wages have indeed started to increase, which is good. So that's great, actually, isn't it? I mean, it's not the highest ever, obviously. You know, there was growth under Obama until the crash in in 2008. But I mean, it's recovered to that point, so great. That's all good. So, I mean, what's there to complain about? But Market Insider has found something. He's missed one of his biggest goals for the economy. Because in the subsequent quarters, he said he'd get 3% or higher each term. And in the subsequent quarters, it was 2.5% growth from 2.9% growth, and similarly disappointing. So it's not growing as quickly as he said it would grow. Well, damn. Probably something to do with his trade war with China, which apparently is working. They ended up coming to an agreement on no tariffs, if I recall correctly. But I haven't actually been following this one terribly. But, I mean, as long as he's winning and The Guardian has to admit it, I'm happy with that. He also used the threat of tariffs very effectively to make Mexico become the border patrol of the United States, to make sure that they help stem the flow of migrants to the US, which was one of his major campaign promises. This also went particularly well yesterday, where they signed an agreement to further restrict asylum cases from Guatemala. So these are the sort of like original Central American countries where these people are coming from or coming through. And he's actually making these countries do what they're supposed to do. Actually give these people asylum on their borders, because that's where they're coming from. He's doing this because the left is outraged over the fact that the migrant detention centers are overcrowded and not especially nice. I mean, you wouldn't want to live in them probably, although many of them are actually, according to The Guardian, quite clean and bright now. So obviously the complaining has worked. There's a lot of fake news about it. I mean, this is just one example that I'm just pulling off of Snopes, where, you know, they're putting pictures of like, oh God, look, this is from the Obama administration. And even then, this is better than wandering out in the desert. Like, this is better from where they came from. They are at least safe in these places. And the thing is, it's all part of the plan. Like, the detention centers, they're not meant to be lovely places to go, because he's trying to dissuade them from coming altogether. If they're going to come, they should come legally. So he says, if illegal immigrants are unhappy with the conditions in the quickly built or refitted detention centres, just tell them not to come. All problems solved. There we go. Like, fair enough. You know, don't come if you don't want to end up in a detention centre. They're gross. Well, they're not even gross. They're just not great. Like, this, you know, if you've just been trekking across deserts and stuff, just sitting there going, okay, well, we've arrived, we're waiting for it to be processed. And this is the immediate thing as well. This isn't even like the place they went to. I should have got that. But there's, you know, the economy, all things considered, it seems to be doing great. And it's not growing quite as quickly as possible because Trump is flexing America's muscles on the world stage through soft power. So, okay, that seems fine. Like, I do not have any problems with what he's doing here. In fact, I think this is highly desirable, and I think he's doing a good job. And I think he's actually going to get less migrants to come. I bet, you know, in the next like 6 months, we see the flow of migrants becoming less and less. Oh yeah, and another thing, he also actually managed to secure some funding for his wall, because this has been the problem. He's actually getting border funding. He's managed to get border funding from the Pentagon to fund something like 100 miles of wall. Now, that is not very far in terms of the US-Mexico border, because the US-Mexico border is a very, very long way. But he got something, $2.5 billion for funding. That's something, that's good. That at least shows he's trying to get this. And it's the fact that he's being blocked by the internal mechanisms of the state, because he's not a dictator. But again, this is just due to the fucking intransigence of the Democrats on this. It's unnecessary, totally unnecessary to do this. Yeah, I've got hay fever. It's the height of summer. Give me a break. But yeah, there's no reason he shouldn't have a wall, and he's doing things in other regards to stop immigration. That's good. He also said that you could declare AntiFar a terrorist organization, which is obviously an indirect threat to say, look, this is something he's going to consider if you guys don't back down. And I mean, I'm totally in favor of this. There are certain jurisdictions of law enforcement in the US that do this anyway, like New Jersey and places like that. So it's not like there isn't a precedent for this, and it's not like there aren't enough examples of Antifa committing terrorist attacks. I mean, I would suggest that the attack on the border center at I can't fucking remember, somewhere in New Mexico, I think it was, by the Antifa terrorist, the self-declared Antifa terrorist. I am Antifa. I think that is enough for us to say, yes, this is a terrorist movement, even without the terrorism that occurred at, say, Berkeley, when Milo was due to speak there, or the other examples of them attacking people, or in Portland, holy shit, taking over sections of the city to direct traffic and threaten people. Like, it does seem to be some kind of terrorist movement built out of radical left-wingers. For example, CNN actually have this lovely Unmasking the Antifa Movement article from a few months ago. And it's amazing. So it's about this 19-year-old kid who was driven there by his mum, driven to this protest by his mum, I think. He gets arrested. He was rounded up among 200 other people and charged with felony for inciting a riot. What is this? Is this all fine? He said he hasn't engaged in any violence and has pleaded not guilty. Well, I'll take his word for it then. He was only in a mob where he was inciting a riot. Why would I think he engaged in any violence? A federal indictment charges individuals in the group with starting fires, property destruction, and physical violence that erupt in the streets. Right. Many of those identified form themselves as part of AntiFar, blah, blah, blah. There's a bit I want to go down to where he's talking about his... Here we go. Now facing a criminal record, he says, I don't know. My efforts might be better suited by an organisation that helps communities. Oh, really? Now he got arrested and he's going to be charged in 2017. He was arrested. He decided maybe I will protest, but I won't start riots and beat people up. What a courageous person Antifa. These are the sort of people that make up the movement. But yeah, anyway. So there are obviously two senators who want is Cruz and someone else, Bill Cassidy. I think it was Ted Cruz anyway. Yeah, sponsored by Ted Cruz. Because Ted Cruz, he has also been woke on a lot of these issues as well. I mean, like, you've probably all seen Ted Cruz grilling Google and Facebook over being censorious and tyrannical, which is totally true. But anyway, going back to Antifa, apparently, according to the New Republic, they are arming themselves against a Trump crackdown. And it's like, really? Fucking really? Like, it's the law that you're not allowed to just go burning stuff, starting riots and beating people up. That's the law. That's not that's not the tyrannical Trump administration. That would have been the Obama administration as well. That would have, George Bush, that would have been every administration before, that you can't just go around burning stuff. But it's now the Trump administration. This is the fascist crackdown, isn't it? This is what this is going to be. Amazing. Consider the tense political environment in the Pacific Northwest, where Washington State Representative Matt Shea, a dough-faced Christian Dominionist from Spokane, I can't pronounce that, made news last year where his instructions on how to build a holy army that would kill all males who refused to submit to biblical law was leaked to the press. Yeah, he sounds like a lunatic. Assassination to remove tyrants is just not murder. Yeah, he sounds like a loon. This sounds like the sort of thing that Antifa are doing. Why are you bringing that up? Like... They're saying literally that the fascists are coming. And you're like, yeah, but look at this Christian guy. It's like, okay, but we're talking about these people. He's like, surely he was arrested. Anyway. Oh, crap, I missed something. Never mind. Sorry, I'll put that in the video I'm going to do. He's also been paying attention to censorship, right? So he's done loads, in fact. He did an opening thing. He's made sure that Silicon Valley is aware that he's taking action as well, and he's moving. I mean, he's threatened to sue Twitter, Google, and Facebook after claiming they're suppressing his follower accounts. His advisors have been praising Tulsi Gabbard for her $50 million lawsuit that she's leveled against Google. And he had his social media summit, and much to the anger of places like USA Today, he did not invite Twitter, Google, or Facebook. So this is all part of some kind of election strategy, one would think, but all part of what he's trying to achieve. Like, he's actually going to start doing things about the things that his supporters are most vocal about. And it's like, Christ, this is amazing. Like, he's actually doing the things that he said he was going to do. So, yeah, I just want to do this quick stream, just say, look, I'm actually genuinely happy with Donald Trump at the moment. Like, the only thing that I saw that I didn't like was him saying how, I'd ban the burning of the American flag. It's like, no, you obviously don't ban the burning of the American flag. The whole point is that you should have the freedom to do so. Sorry, I'll get to the super chats next. I know I wasn't looking. Orange Man Mad Lad is proof this is a peak timeline. Well, it's going pretty well, like, I think there's every reason to be optimistic the way, in the direction we started to travel. So that's good. Start forming a militia and send it to New York, California, and Portland. Get those demos out of office as it's 100% legal. Well, I don't recommend sending a militia anywhere. I don't think there's any need, and I think that when you start mimicking the sort of tactics of the left in this regard, you actually delegitimize yourself. I mean, that's like, you don't need a militia. Just send a bunch of activists out there to like counter flyer and things like this. Just tell people what the hell these people are doing. Hungary built a wall and it reduced 99% of illegals. Wow, I can't believe a wall stops people from crossing a certain area, and has, these things have done for literally 10,000 years. And suddenly the Dems are like, oh, walls don't work. Yes, they work. Of course they work. That's ridiculous. I hope Tulsi wins her lawsuit against Google. Yeah, me too. But I noticed that Nicholas Sandman, the Covington Catholic kid who got shredded in the press over a misinterpretation of a scene in a video, he had his thrown out. So who knows? But I mean, I would have thought that was completely fair. The media drummed up this fucking unbelievable amount of hate towards this kid because of their misinterpretation of the situation. It's like, how is that not something he can get some kind of compensation for? Would you consider doing a video on the People's Party of Canada? Canada's elections this fall, but they get no coverage from the Canadian media. Honestly, I would recommend asking Short Fat Otaku to do that, because he's been doing some really good work recently, and he is Canadian, so he's going to have much more knowledge of the political situation. Because honestly, I don't tend to follow Canadian politics. I've got too much. So it's too much following American and English and British politics at the same time. I honestly don't have time to follow and continental European politics to a certain degree. I don't really have time to follow Canadian politics. So he'd be the best person for that, I would say. All right, now what was I? Oh yeah, there was something else that I was going to. Oh yeah, the Trump stuff on Iran as well. I mean, so far he seems to have done all right. Like, he's he hasn't started a massive war, and Iran is being provocative. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not innocent in this. We took one of their tankers, they took one of ours. They've been talking a lot of smack. Shut up, Iran. I hope you also watch. Keep up the good work here, Senores. Thank you. Thanks, DB. I hope you also watch Radio from Rammstein. Take a close look at the EU flags in the last scene. I will do. Like I said, I'm working on the video now, so I'm not finished with it, obviously. But Radio by Rammstein. I will look at it. So I find this all very interesting. The lyrics on Deutschland are particularly interesting. It's like, anyway, Trump turned all Mexico into a wall, and now they're paying for it. Promises kept. Well, you can't argue with it. Initiate CAF, start using ERAD on AntiFar. Okay. Thoughts on TYT supporting the squad, which will end up electing their antagonist? Well, they don't have any choice. I mean, Cenk actually wrote a piece in the Wall Street Journal, I think it was. It's saying that the Democrats should rally around the squad. There we go. Let me get it up. We'll have a quick look at it, assuming it's not behind a paywall. No, it's not. But Jake, you're not worthy enough to be behind the paywall, mate. Ah, sit. I think I actually might need the paywall. No. Sorry, fine. We're good. Right. Democrats should unify behind AOC, not Pelosi. Yeah, Democrats should radicalize. That's what you're saying, isn't it? That's all it is. When people say that Democrats should unify, the part they leave out is most important. Around what? Nearly everyone in Washington seems to assume that progressives should shut up, accept their place, and unify around the status quo. No, Jake. I don't think you should do that at all. Think about what an arrogant and preposterous request this is. Yeah, that's right, Jake. Progressive leaders, including our representatives in Congress, should abandon all of our policy positions and sell our votes out to please the democratic establishment. Saying hell no to that would be an enormous understatement. Dude, I totally agree. I think you should go full reparations, full open borders, full socialism. I say go, just run with it. Just hell for leather, as far left as you can get. I think that's what's going to win the next election for me. So you should do that. If Democratic leaders don't want to fight Donald Trump, that's their problem, not ours. We signed up to rout him and send him home. Okay. If you're not on board with that, get out of the way and let us do it. Yeah. Democratic voters were clear in 2018 that they want Mr. Trump impeached. Yet again, last week, Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her allies blocked an opportunity by tabling Al Green's resolution. Unlike Mr. Green, I don't think we need to discuss President Trump's political or racial ideology to favour impeachment. He doesn't seem to have much in the way of a racial ideology. The president has clearly committed 2 crimes. Oh, really? Mueller's report outlines double digits instances of obstruction of justice. That's a felony. Michael Cohen confirmed that Mr. Trump worked with him to pay hush money to Stormy Daniels in violation of campaign finance laws, a crime for which Mr. Cohen is in prison. Okay. How's that? What? Why would they not? Why would they not take this? If it is as you're suggesting it is, Jank, and I haven't been following this at all. I stopped listening when the thing came out and they said, no, we're not going to, we've got nothing. I was just like, okay, well, good enough for me. What's the narrative here, Jank? Democratic powder to fight Republicans is forever dry. Detention centers without any constraints? Check. Without any constraints. Didn't the squad vote against the increased amount of funding for these centers? It seems that they were the check on the centers. Your little babies, your little squad of Justice Democrats were the check, or at least attempted to be the check on how much money they were going to get, just so you know. Defeating an amendment to prohibit the Pentagon from housing kids at the middle cities, check. Continues to let Mr. Trump... Oh, God, get to the point. The minimum wage for 6 months? Yeah. So the overwhelming majority of Democratic voters want to fight Mr. Trump and pass progressive priorities. If the Democrats unify around anything, it should be around their voters, who clearly prefer the positions of Justice Democrats like Ocasio-Cortez. If the pundits really believe in unity, as opposed to submission to the establishment, they will support the logical conclusion that the Democratic Party would unify around AOC, not Mrs. Pelosi. Dude, you are writing in the fucking Wall Street Journal? Like... do you honestly want to talk about being part of the establishment when you get to write articles in the Wall Street Journal? Like, people who are part of the establishment, that's what they do. People who are not, don't. Anyway. Honestly, I'm at the point of never voting for the Democratic Party again, at least until candidates like Tulsi Gabbard become the standard bearers of the party. Guess Trump 2020 for me. Yeah, man, like, I totally understand this line of thinking, because I would feel very sympathetic to it. Like, I love Tulsi Gabbard, and I quite like Andrew Yang, even though I don't necessarily agree with everything he says. I still think that, at least as a person, he's not, like, a zealot, and he seems to be a fairly well-meaning person. And he's someone you could at least do a deal with, have a compromise with. You could have some kind of understanding that both positions have an essence of validity to them. But the way that the Democrats operate at the moment, the radical left types, the squad, is the complete delegitimization of every other political worldview. It's like, no, they've all got some validity to them. They're all, there's something true about them. You do not have the solution to everything, and they're acting like they do. And so I don't know why anyone would look at them and go, okay, well, like, I'll go for that. I'd be like, no. And then the fact that they're so dominant in the Democratic Party culturally, if nothing else, for me is just like, no. Until the Democratic Party can like get its shit under control and stop essentially demonizing its own country, I just can't start from that position. You know, it's just like, this is too much. The concentration camps. No, your country is not running concentration camps, because what you call concentration camps, is meant to mean Nazi death camps. That's what it means in people's minds now. The meaning of that, when you say concentration camps, it brings up images of places like Auschwitz. You know it. It's not bringing up images of places where people are just held while they're being processed, refugees or something. That's not what we're talking about. I mean, if anything, why don't you call them refugee camps? That would be a lot more accurate, because in your mind, they're economic refugees. So why wouldn't you call them refugee camps? No, but you call them concentration camps to get your bases outraged and riled up, so they'll go and do things like terrorist attacks. So it's totally unacceptable. And so I couldn't, even if I wouldn't support a Republican if he was shit. If he was the neo-lib types, I'd be like, no, all of American politics is awful at the moment. And I guess I would have to support Tulsi Gabbard because she's really cool. She's really good. But I don't know, man. The Democratic Party is too dangerous to me. It's too much of a risk. I just see it as being just out of control. They can't get their shit together. The Republicans don't have this problem with people like Richard Spencer. The Republicans don't let him in. They have, conservative conferences, and he's kicked out of it. He's not allowed into it. It's like, okay, well, there we go. Why? Because he's a fucking white nationalist. They're not white nationalists. They recognize that that's an extreme nonsense philosophy that they're not going to follow. Why can't the Democrats do that with socialists and communists? Why do you let them in? Have you checked out Vice's Lib vs. Con debate, controlling for race, gender, and orientation? They're really good. Need more of that. I haven't. Dems should unify around walnut sauce and sacrifices to Moloch. Yes, I have read the Pizzagate and watched the Pizzagate conspiracies. I do know what that means, and gross. They probably will end up doing that. Honestly. If Trump wins re-election, Portland will go into a state of insurrection. Yeah, probably. Which is great, because then Trump can invoke the Insurrection Act and send in the troops to crush dirty commies. Wow. I say no more. Brian Tilmer. How's Brexit coming along? Well, pretty good so far since Boris got in. Love the fact that he's a breath of fresh air. And actually he is going to... I really think he is going to take us out, because I think he's well aware that if he doesn't, Nigel Farage is waiting in the wings. So, I think it's actually going as good as we can expect it at the moment. At least the Confederates had the balls to secede. Yeah, exactly. I can respect that. Dude, actually got a notification. 20 minutes late, but better late than never. Well, I suppose so. Thanks, YouTube. I really appreciate that. That you actually did the thing that you said you would do. Left or right, anti-government militias have a long history in the US. Remember the OKC bombing? Thanks to Ruby Ridge, see the US is tyrannical. True. You do have quite the libertarian streak within you. Thank you, Code 4, Chad Butler, and ASMR Mama. Hi from Texas, really appreciate the commentary. Oh, thank you very much. I wouldn't even give you my free YouTube money, but you did, Benjamin. I hope he succeeds on tech censorship. Yeah, me too, man. I really I just want to see all the people who are banned just brought back. Come on, let's have a fair fucking competition, man. It's a big internet. There's room for everyone. I really think there is, I swear to God, the only reason that they do it is because they knew they were losing the argument. Not trolling. If Trump starts a war with Iran, which seems not likely or unlikely, how far can support for him go? No one wants a war. I think he's smart enough to avoid it, but tensions are high. Well, I agree. It's a thorny issue. I mean, if he's acting with warranted restraint, then as long as he's not doing something unjustified, okay. If Iran, fly over and start bombing shipping or something, then yeah, he probably does have to go to war with Iran to make sure they're not going to bomb shipping. There's no particular... He has a responsibility to do this. So we can't just say, oh, no war. This is the thing that drives me crazy about Karl Kalinske. He's so totally anti-war. He would have the US do nothing under any situation. And like, I don't necessarily want regime changes or anything like this, but some kind of countermeasure has to be taken when something like that happens. So you do have to make sure that the people around you are aware that you are prepared to act. So we can't just say, oh, we'll never support any kind of war under any circumstances. There have to be circumstances. And we have to ask ourselves at the time whether they're justified or not. Anytime someone calls you far right, ask them to define it and give an example of moderate right and moderate left. Use the political compass as yours. Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't believe Trump the first time around. He was a Republican and a dick, so I didn't vote for him. Imagine my shock when he started following through with his promises. I may vote Trump this time. Well, he did. Yes, fair point, isn't it? Like he is a dick. And I saw just an article earlier. I must have been. Where the author of it was talking about how Trump's like a doctor with no bedside manner. He's a complete twat, but at the end of the day, the things he's pointing out are true, and you kind of have to accept that. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, look, you don't have to like him, but you can't deny the results. Thank you, Ojisan. Trump's doing decent, B-. I'd give him a B+. Man. I would say, more than decent. Above average, AntiFar smash windows like it's fucking crystal nacht. It is on those damn capitalists. Like, unironically. So I was refreshing this. What do you think about the outrage towards Boris Johnson's diverse cabinet? Well, I have been enjoying the takfiring of the people of colour from the various people of colour races from whence they came. They are now Uncle Toms. They are race traitors, which is what the left are calling Priti Patel and Sajid Javid for working in the quote-unquote hard right Conservative cabinet, which means Brexiteer. Yeah, I think it's pretty disgraceful. I don't think you can ever throw someone out of a race except when they're Greek and whiteness. Look, man, I've been to Greece many times. I love going to Greece, but I'm telling you, they're not white. I love saying stuff like that. Just what? It's like, it doesn't matter, does it? They are European, obviously. I don't like Cenk, but Andy No did have an article with the Wall Street Journal as well, and I consider him part of the establishment. Just deal with Cenk's points. Well, I mean, Andy No is kind of part of the establishment. That's the thing. He, like I said, he writes for the Wall Street Journal. He's just a part of the establishment that's kind of there is areas in the establishment, people who do recognise that there are problems that do need to be addressed. Oh, fuck off, Seamus McBride. Oh, I lost the game. Well, yeah, me too, now. What? It must have been a long time since I last lost the game. Thanks, Seamus. Dick. Thanks, Luke said. Trump for Dungeon Master 2020. That sounds like a good idea. And could you make the US Smear Merchants t-shirt in black? Yes, I can. I will do so after the stream. Richard Spencer came out approving of socialism. Yes, he is pretty progressive in many ways. We need juices at the concentration camps. Yeah, and a supply of fresh oranges, presumably, as well. What do you think about Kyle of Secular Talk radicalizing and becoming an ideologue? I mean, at the risk of sounding soft on him, I think that may have happened to almost everyone. I think that we may be radicalized ideologues as well, just for something different to him. And I think that his refusal to talk to others prevents him from becoming less of a radicalized ideologue. I still make the effort to talk to people I don't agree with. So hopefully I'm not as much of a radicalized ideologue. But I think that everything's gone that way. I mean, one of the things I find wild is how much Anthony Fantano hates me now. It's because I criticised Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and called her a socialist, and he obviously really liked her. And now I'm the evil one. And I'm just like, oh, Anthony, that sucks, man. We hung out when we were at VidCon. He's a really nice guy. I really liked him. So, I'm sorry, Anthony. I was just sad, he's like really angry about it. a whipping from the leftists because he was making just parody videos of them, and they were great. They were so funny, and he'd parody other stuff, but like that was something of theirs he parodied. And they were like, "Oh, he's alt-right," and he was like, "Oh no, I'm not. I'll shut it down." It's like, oh god. A wall prevents future Dems from crossing the border. Well, you say that, but a lot of the sort of newer, a lot of the Mexican immigrants are quite anti-illegal immigration, and I suspect that in future generations they might well end up turning quite Republican. So I think that the Democratic Party, it's not all up. It's not all up, but I suppose, but they definitely consider it that way. Hi, Simon from Spokane. It's pronounced Spokane, also known as Spokanistan. Is it? I don't know anything about it. TJS 44, thank you. Yeah, so like the whole thing so far, I mean, not perfect, obviously, but better than I expected. I'm actually convinced the leftists to stop calling them concentration camps. Now she calls them detention centers. Well, that's what they are, or you could call them refugee camps, I suppose, but they are detention centers, and, there's nothing illegitimate about that. There's nothing, I mean, that doesn't sound nice, does it? It's not play park, is it? It doesn't sound like it's wonderful, but it's also not in the process of ethnically cleansing them. So, I mean, what do you want? See Chris Wallace on The Late Show. Thoughts? No, I didn't. I don't know who Chris Wallace is. Binary Surfer. Boris is the con's only hope of survival. Totally agree, mate. Totally agree. However, I'm hearing from a local conservative activist it's too little too late. Base equals half and abandoned. Well, the polling is not in his favour. So I'm just getting it up. So, in regards to how Boris is doing, there's definitely a bounce in the polls. The latest one is on Brexit, which was done by Opinion, where they asked, which of the following best describes your stance towards Brexit? Supportive of remaining, 40%. Supportive of Brexit with close alignment with the EU, 14%. Supportive of Brexit with a clear break from the EU, 38%. So 52% of people want to leave the EU, and 40% of people are supportive of remaining, according to this poll. Good news, which honestly, that's lower support of remaining than before as well, actually. And the Conservatives are up in 3 different polls, one of which shows a 10-point swing from the Brexit Party to the Conservatives, putting them at 30%, 31%, 30%. So above Labour's 28%, and like Labour and the Lib Dems are jostling, but Labour still seem to be ahead somewhat. So all of them show a dramatic decrease from the Brexit Party to the Conservatives, though. So it looks like there is actually some effect of Boris coming out so strongly. And, I mean, good. I just want to get out at this point. I'm so sick of talking about Brexit. Like, fuck me. It should have been done 3 years ago. Like, it should have been Boris on the first day, and he could have come out and been like, right, we're doing it, or else. And they'd be like, good. I mean, I love the do or die Brexit. I wish I'd thought of that. That's such a great thing. They were like, oh, God, look at this. It's do or die Brexit. I'm like, yeah! That sounds great. Let's do this. Latino immigrants are also very anti-abortion and into creating small businesses and into law and order natural Republicans once they get past the free stuff from the Democrats. Yeah, probably. Spokane is an S-hole, said someone from the S-hole Seattle. At least isn't a desert on this side of the state. Yeah, that's why I could never live in California, really. I'm not worried about the earthquakes. I'm more bothered about the fact that it's just a giant desert. Why would you want this? I can't pronounce that. Would you call your book I Wouldn't Even Read You? No. I'll call it something else. I'll let the people who hate me say I wouldn't even read your book. Will you point out, Cenk, how he caused the re-election of Trump in 2020 to piss him off? Well, I mean, I don't think it's solely down to him, but he was certainly part of the wider cultural tapestry of whining leftists that definitely got Trump that way. Fingers crossed, God willing, of course. The future, a 47-year-old virgin sitting around in his beige pajamas, drinking banana broccoli shake, singing "I'm an Oscar Wiener." Yeah, I'm halfway through the script for that. I've just been putting off because other stuff's been coming up. But yeah, I'm working on that as well. So it's going quite well. Crunchy or smooth peanut butter? Crunchy, because what are you, a girl? I just prefer it. But I'm not a massive fan of peanut butter, to be honest. Cheers from Indiana. Construction is booming here. Man, that's great. Will UKIP subsume Brexit Party if Boris succeeds? Yeah, I think so. UKIP's still got a mandate after Brexit. They've still got things they want to achieve. And fingers crossed Richard Brain gets it because he's the wokest. He's also a really good speaker. Really, good at articulating his points. But he totally gets what we're doing, and so it's like, cool. I haven't seen the Democrats this mad since Republicans freed their slaves. Oof! Oof! Yeah, it's amazing. They lay claim to the Republican president, Abraham Lincoln. Oh, I love it. If you want to normalise people in society, like left-handers, for example, you can't have special interest groups on their behalf. It turns out the result is paradoxical. You get a block on the side in terms of representation. Yeah, I totally agree, Brzezinski. I mean, nobody talks about, nobody gives a shit about left or right-handedness now, and so it's just not something people care about. But people don't realise that in previous eras, I would have been oppressed for being a left-hander. I wouldn't have been allowed to write, and I would have been given a whack by the teacher and whatnot. I would have physically stopped from being a left-hander. Stop oppressing me, fucking right-handed privilege. Is the EU leaving the EU the economic equivalent of the founding of the Church of England? I mean, I'd say that's a bit dramatic, but kind of. I wouldn't make the comparison, I suppose. But it's honestly it's a long history of English exceptionalism, seeing the great dragon of Europe and being like, no thanks, fuck off, and then having to slay that dragon, incidentally. If Brexit kills the European Union, because we hard Brexit out and the whole thing implodes, well, Europe, you're welcome. Oh dear. I know it never happened, but what's your opinion on the UK adopting a Second Amendment type law? Would you support it? Yeah, I mean, we do have guns here. They're just mostly owned by country conservatives who, you can't have one for self-defense, incidentally, but you can get one if you go hunting or something, or if you've got, pests on your crops and stuff, so farmers all have shotguns. I love hearing about what you think of the West. Any good suggestions for reading Enlightenment philosophy? Honestly, your best bet as a layman is to get a reader. Bertrand Russell wrote a history of philosophy in the West. I think it was the exact name. And something like that is probably going to be more useful. I mean, I've been using Ernest Barker, Principles of Social and Political Theory, which I happen to have on my desk, so I've been using it today, to wrangle with things like Hegel, because Hegel was a prolific author, and it's just easier to get a professional to tell you. Basically, he was a professor at Cambridge or something in the 40s and 50s. He wrote a lot. I've got a really thick volume of his called On the Character of the English that I've yet to read, but I do want to get around to because I really want to know what he thought about it. Because he wrote a lot about the British and the English specifically, as well as in contrasted to foreigners. And I find it really fascinating because there really is some real difference there, some tangible difference. Will you do a stream with Angry Foreign again? Oh man, I hope so. I've been watching his videos a lot recently. I've noticed he's been putting them out more regularly, or at least they've been coming up on my fucking feed. And I love him, man. He's really, 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 really solid videos. Just really enjoying them. He's funny as well. Just finished a long vacation up and down the US East Coast. Construction is booming everywhere. Thanks, Trump. What else are you going to do? It's like, carry on, Keep America great. Ilhan Omar uses Ancestry instead of Tinder. Hey. You don't talk about my second wife that way. Do you still watch the Amazing Atheist channel? How do you feel about calling you a right winger and mocking your support of Donald Trump? I'm not surprised he'd call me a right winger. I suppose to him I am. I don't mind if he doesn't think that Donald Trump's doing a good job. I think he is. I've listed some reasons today. He's doing things that I want to see done. If I thought that anyone from the left wing could do that, I would support them too. But I don't think anyone from the left wing can do that, and so there we go. In 1860, South Carolina left the Union in 4 weeks. What's your excuse? Yeah, I know. Our excuse is Theresa May. It's the Conservatives. They've been weak for a long time. But at least with Boris, they're finding some balls, which is nice. But yeah, right. I think I'm going to stop because I've got to be up early tomorrow. And I didn't actually get that much prepared for the stream. We could go through some of the articles, but they essentially do say what the headlines are. Greetings from Berkeley. Crazy to see how far this city has run from the acme of free speech in the short 15 years I've lived here to the state it's in today. At least the weather is perfect. Well, yes, you do have a lot of sun, but you also have lots of communists, and that's a problem. That's makes your public life more difficult, does it not? I mean, what are you going to do? All Spanish-speaking media in the US is left-leaning. Yeah, but the thing is, most of your media is left-leaning anyway. You're very little in the way of actually right-leaning media. Oh, yeah, congratulations to Styx as well for getting married, by the way. It's, I had no idea, and Louis sent me the video. I was like, oh, cool. Congrats, man. Good for you. Jesus. Scrumps just sent me a link. Even The Guardian are fucking saying it, right? Let me, this is interesting. Politicized trans groups put children at risk, say expert. No shit. No fucking shit. Counsellors and other mental health providers fear being labelled transphobic. Wow, in exactly the same way that the people who were complaining about the rape gangs were complaining about being called racist. They were afraid of being called racist. It's amazing. Amazing how this pattern keeps emanating outwards from the intersectional left. They're such belligerent and tyrannical bullies that every time they want something, they have to bully everyone around them into making it happen, and the people then are afraid to speak out against the injustices caused by it because they're afraid of being labelled as X, Y, or Z, which will socially hurt them. This is a very easy method, C, with the fucking far left, and I don't know why everyone bends the knee to it. So fundamentally, this is going to be essentially what the video about 3 hours is going to be about, because at the end of the day, he can complain about we're becoming cruel and Nazi-like, but he doesn't have any other options. He doesn't have any other alternatives, and that's a real problem. We need to have solutions for problems like people crossing the border illegally, and before you say that isn't a problem, I will actually get to the stuff I'd missed out earlier, in fact, just to tie this all up. The number of detained migrant children without US sponsors spikes, a federal official says. These are children who shouldn't be here. 1/3 of all kids in OR care, right. And so, fuck off. Okay, I'm not paying for the Washington Post, but rapid DNA promises to identify fake families. Well, apparently it did. Apparently 30% of suspected migrant families were unrelated. So these are people who are not being trafficked legally or legitimately even, obviously it's all illegal, but like these are kids that are just not related to the people who have taken them. So is that not our responsibility to make sure that those kids aren't just entering into the US with the people who are taking them? I mean, do we know who these people are? And that's not to say anything of violent gangs like MS-13, drug smuggling, gun smuggling, all those other things. And just the fact that it's unfair to the migrants who came legally as well. They actually followed the law. It's no wonder that 55% of them want illegal immigrants deported as well, Mexicans or not, or Guatemalans or not. Go fucking home. Apply the legal way, for the love of God. This is the thing about the 3 hours video. He's like, oh no, we're becoming cruel. It's like, no, we're not becoming cruel. This is just normal. This is a normal thing for anything for a state to do. It happened under Obama. No one cared. Nothing's changed. And the whole point is that, don't come illegally because you're breaking the law. If we're going to be a society of laws, then we have to maintain them. Anyway, I will, don't send any more super chats, please. And I know this isn't going on as long as usual, but like I said, I do have to carry on, and I've got to be up early tomorrow. And this was just something I just felt the impulse to do. With the fanatical left's predilection for sectarianism against some religions, potential for totalitarian regime, which resembles Nazi Germany. Yeah, but by necessity rather than by intent. The difference between them and the Nazis is they'll do it because they have to, and the Nazis did it because they wanted to. But either way, they're doing it. which is what I'm complaining about. This is the difference between like liberalism, socialism, and fascism. The liberals don't do this. The socialists have to do this, and the fascists want to do this. But the doing this is the problem. So no, this is why the left can't have nice things. Yep, it completely is. They just don't know when to count their victories and enjoy, because they're looking for this perfect end goal that's never going to happen. You're never going to get the utopia. Stop looking for it. Look for this incremental improvement in the situation around you. If you see homeless people on the streets in California, maybe you should start with homeless people in California. Maybe that should be the primary thing you worry about. Because I tell you what, I went to California and I saw fuck all racism. Like, I did not see anyone abusing black people in the streets or anything like that. And like, I wandered around and people were just fairly normal to me. I mean, they were Americans, so they weren't that normal, but they were just fairly normal to me. There wasn't like this epidemic of racism as far as I could see, but there were loads of homeless people who clearly needed help. That was definitely something I saw. There were other things as well, but like, you could start locally and actually make the world a better place and see the result of it, rather than having some grand conceptual idea of what would make things better in theory. Anyway, I will stop rambling for now. I'll see you later. Take it easy, guys.